So the NFL draft has come and gone, and the Oakland Raiders selected Henry Ruggs and Damon Arnette in the first round, followed by Lynn Bowden, Bryan Edwards, and Tanner Muse in the third, and then John Simpson and Amik Robertson in the fourth. Now, anybody that watched my review before the draft knows that I was asking us to take either CD or Jerry Jeudy with the 12th overall pick. Both were there, and we chose to go with Henry Ruggs. A lot of people have been disappointed with this pick. I myself was disappointed when I first seen it. I understood kind of the reason, immediately I was like, okay, this is definitely a Raider pick. Speed all the way. Take it to the house, as you see. It's a speciality. Speed. But the thing about Henry Ruggs is he's not just speed. He's got hands. Look at that hand. That's over the shoulder catch. He's got all kinds of skills. Watch this catch. He goes up, high points the ball. He's not just a speed guy. He's a all-around guy. He's got good running route skills. He's got good awareness of where he is. Look, 2 taps, keeps his feet in bounds, secures the football. This is what you want to see. Goes up and high points the ball. One-handed catch. Similar to the catch that Bryan Edwards made. Both of these guys. That's highlight reel stuff. Not just speed. So I like the Henry Ruggs pick. I just wanted us to get a number 1 receiver. A lot of people say that Henry Ruggs is not necessarily a number 1 receiver. But I started to think about that too, because I was like, damn, okay, we don't have a number 1. What are we going to do? But when you look at it, look at the New England Patriots. Who's their number 1? Julian Edelman. He's basically a slot receiver. And he has been their number 1 for a long time. We got Hunter Renfrow. So why, we have our Julian Edelman. So why do we necessarily need a number 1 when, the Patriots were able to do it for so long with basically nobody's? Look at Kansas City. They got Tyreek Hill and Mecole Hardman. Sammy Watkins is all right, but he's nothing special. He's nothing like he was in his rookie year or even years prior. But the thing I'm trying to say is that you don't necessarily need a number 1 in today's game, especially if you have so many players that can take it to the house and that can do something special with every play. So with that said, I'm going to go on to the next pick, but keep in mind, because Henry Ruggs opens up the field for everybody. So it's not just the one pick, it's the overall perception that it's going to do for our offense, which is to be able to score at any time. And John Gruden, he loves to dump the ball off. He loves these little screen plays that are, 5-yard, 2-yard plays. I don't know why he sometimes, it's like 3rd and 10 and he'll throw a little 2-yard screen pass. Sometimes I find him too conservative, but with a guy like Henry Ruggs, we could take it to the house every time. We don't need to worry about, just throwing those little screen passes where you're like, damn, Lee, man, we need to be throwing it at least 10 yards down the field. We need a first down here. But look, he's, you give Henry Ruggs the opportunity and he'll take it 50 yards with a 2-yard off of a 2-yard screen pass. And that's what I want to see. And just the threat of his speed will open up for everybody else, for our other draft picks, and also for Tyrell Williams, for Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, and Josh Jacobs. So with that said, we're moving on to the next pick. So with the 19th overall pick, we took Damon Arnette, Ohio State cornerback, Damon Arnette. Now, one thing about Arnette, a lot of people say that, he was the number 2 to Jeff Okudah, so Okudah was better, and I know Mike Mayock said that Arnette was just as good as Okudah, and I do think that Arnette is really good, maybe not as good as Okudah, but when you look at Arnette's play, there's things about it that real quick. The things about it that I really like is that he is really, really aggressive on the line. like right up on the line of scrimmage, he is definitely one of the a little more handsy than a lot of other college cornerbacks. But the thing about it, when you watch him, is he's not just handsy. Uh, he is aggressive to the football and to the tackle. He is a grinder. He is a Gruden grinder. He is a tough physical player. He's aggressive. He goes for the football, and he high points the football when he sees it, and he's good at contested catches, and he's good on the line of scrimmage, which is one thing. He's good at man coverage, and that's one thing that you know Gruden wants. He wants guys that are good in man because we've been getting beat. Daryl Worley last year got beat, five times out of I should say three or four times out of five he was getting beat man to man coverage against guys like Tyreek Hill. So we need to get a better man, guy at the line of scrimmage. He needs to be stronger. He needs to be more aggressive at the line of scrimmage. That's what we need in our cornerbacks, and that's what we have in Damon Arnette. And as you see here, this pick six, it was basically him jumping the route, him understanding what the cornerback's going to do. And this is something too that I noticed is that if you see in this play, he's aggressively looking for the football. He's always looking for the football, and when it gets tapped, you'll see it gets a lot of times, like 3 or 4 times, his interceptions have come off tip balls where he's just looking up for the football and being aware. And that awareness is something that I really, really am going to look for this upcoming year in Las Vegas. I'm hoping to see the same things that I see in his college tape with his aggressiveness and his ability to kind of always be around the football, or at least be hunting for the football, which is something you don't always see. Like, one thing about Gary and Conley is I didn't find him, in college he was really a ball hawk, I would almost say, but in the NFL he wasn't. He was, he got injured, there were a lot of issues, but he just wasn't a ball hawk anymore. He wasn't going for the ball, he wasn't looking for it. Whereas Arnette, I can see it every time. Every time I see him around the football, he is aware. He's got really good awareness, really good aggressiveness. Sometimes he might be a little handsy, and that might lead to penalties. And that's the big issue with him, is that he may end up having some penalties called against him. It's the big, big knock against Damon Arnette. It's really the only thing I can see about his play that I don't necessarily like, is that he is a little aggressive. He's a little handsy. But anyway, let's move on to our next 2 picks, Lynn Bowden and Bryan Edwards. This is Bryan Edwards here making a one-handed catch, phenomenal one-handed catch. He is going to be our red zone threat, our contested catch threat. Bryan Edwards is going to be our tall Z receiver. He's going to be our stretch the field and our red zone kind of guy, because he's got speed too. He's not just this 6'3", 6'4" receiver. He's also got speed, and he's got skill. Look at that. Go up and high point it and get it in bounds. He's an all-around threat. And Edwards, with a guy like Ruggs on the one side and Edwards on the other side, you have the ability. Derek Carr can just throw the ball up and Edwards can go and get it while everybody else is double teaming Ruggs. So this is the kind of thing that I think John Gruden was seeing when he was looking at guys like Edwards here. The thing that I noticed the most, though, is that we really needed to shore up our defense and our wide receiving core. Those are the 2 main things. And this website here, Sharp Football Analysis, I really like what they have done with their draft breakdown. And they kind of show you where each team struggled. As you see here, our offense was not that bad. We actually had pretty good explosiveness in the pass game, or at least, well, I shouldn't say that. Like, this kind of looks like it was, but this is really just because of the checkdowns. This is just showing you that we had a lot of efficiency because we were making a lot of short throws. So yeah, we completed a lot of passes, but they weren't necessarily that explosive. And here it's like explosive plays, it's kind of lower than everything else because we really didn't have that many explosive plays in terms of passing the game. I'd say we had more running the game, but this kind of, I don't know, I don't really get all of these things, but it's basically just showing you that we need to get better, just get more explosive. both in running the ball and passing the ball. And I think with the additions of guys like Lynn Bowden Jr., who was drafted in the 3rd round just before Bryan Edwards with the 80 and 81st pick. It was Lynn Bowden, and I really like these 2 picks because they complement each other, and they also complement Henry Ruggs. As we've talked about, Henry Ruggs is the speed, and so is Lynn Bowden and Bryan Edwards. They all have speed, but they all have different skill sets. And Bowden is basically he's a jack of all trades. Bowden is the kind of guy that is going to create mismatches in the backfield. He can come out in the wildcat, he can run the ball, or he can be a quarterback. He can throw the ball, and he has a lot of skill throwing the ball. He took Kentucky to several victories being the backup or being a guy that just took over. He was a wide receiver who stepped in to be a backup or a quarterback, starting quarterback for the Kentucky. And here you see our defense just ranked last in almost everything, almost every category. So that's that's something we don't want to see. We don't want to see this again. And I think the additions we made are going to really, really help us. And let's just look at this right here, because actually a lot of the additions we made weren't even in the draft. They were actually in free agency. And when we take a look at our biggest needs, we need a defensive tackle. And picking up Malik Collins to who's I think a lot better than Jonathan Hankins gives us and they kind of break that down right here, saying that last season Hurst ranked 6th in pressure rate among 97 tackles with at least 100. You know what I mean? So he ranks 6th out of 97 tackles, Mo Hurst. And then Malik Collins is really, really good pick. He ranked 4th among defensive tackles, right? So both of these guys, Malik Collins and Maurice Hurst, both have great pass rush potential. We brought in Carl Nassib as well to help rush the passer off the edge, along with Max Crosby from last year, Mad Max, and Cleveland Farrell. And if anybody goes and watches my draft update from last year, I wanted us to draft Max Crosby. I called him as the stud. He was going to be the stud, and look, comes to fruition. So, I was watching his college tape, and I was like, this guy has unbelievable skills. So that was just something that I like to see. And like I was saying, so the linebacker was our biggest issue. So we went and we picked up Corey Littleton and Nick Kwiatkowski. And these guys are going to be our starting linebacker duo. And they're going to be, I think, one of the best linebacking duos in the NFL. And to shore up this, we took Tanner Muse at the backside of the 3rd round. Tanner Muse is going to be our basically nickel linebacker slash backup linebacker slash safety. He might be playing a lot of slot nickel, covering tight ends over the slot, or he'll play linebacker. So it's interesting, but we're basically shoring up depth and getting us a really high upside player with Tanner Muse, who a lot of people thought we reached for. But at the same time, when you look at him, he's from Clemson, so obviously he jumped out when Mike Mayock and John Gruden were watching the Clemson tape, as we know they like to do. So basically they wanted us, a steal or somebody, well, I shouldn't say a steal, but a guy that maybe was a sleeper that other people were passing up, that kind of slipped to the end of the 3rd round, that they thought should have gone in the 3rd round, that a lot of people were saying should have gone in the 4th or 5th round. Mainly because they don't see their fit. A lot of people say that like Tanner Muse just doesn't have a good fit anywhere because he's not really a linebacker, he's not really a safety, he's kind of a little too small for a linebacker, a little too big for a safety. So what do you really need him to do? But if we're having him cover guys over the middle like Travis Kelce, and if he can stay with those guys and actually shut them down, then I don't see how that's a bad. He might be a one-trick pony, but if he's really good at that one-trick pony, then I'll take him any day, because that's something we really need, is to shut down Travis Kelce. We need to shut down Hunter Henry, all these tight ends that we got in this, in Noah Fant, now Denver. Anyway, and with cornerbacks, obviously we drafted Damon Arnette, so that solidifies our cornerback duo with Trayvon Mullen and Damon Arnette. And we also got Isaiah Johnson coming back, and I think Isaiah Johnson is actually going to be flying up this depth chart, as you'll see when I go over to the depth chart real quick. And with safeties, we signed Demarius Randall, and him and Jonathan Abram are going to be our two safeties. Heath and Harris may challenge for kind of the backup, kind of the third safety there. They'll probably all make the team, but I think Randall and Abram are our two definite starting safeties, and they're also going to be two of the top safeties duos in the league. So with the additions of Littleton, Kwiatkowski, Abram, and Randall, I think we have turned our defense around, and that's without the draft. With the draft, with Arnette, with Muse, and with our last pick of the draft, Amik Robertson, who I'll talk about soon, I think we're going to see a lot of upgrades and a lot of better play from our defense this year. So what we see here is our depth chart. So I really like kind of the way this website has everything set up too, lineups.com. It's an interesting setup because it kind of just gives you a straight look at where our team is at right now. We just signed Devontae Booker at running back. I just seen that earlier today. So we have now another running back other than Lynn Bowden, who a lot of people were saying, we only got two running backs. We need to get another running back. So there you go. They picked up Devontae Booker, who is a former Denver Broncos running back. He's a pretty good running back. A lot of people say he's a good pass catcher. Some even like him better than Jalen Richard. I don't agree with that. But I do like him. I think he's a good running back, and he's a good complement to Jacobs. I don't know about Doug Martin either. I know Martin we had for a little bit too. I don't know if he'll be coming back, but maybe he retired. I don't know. But anyway, let's just look up the depth chart real quick, and I'll let you guys go. Get back to your days. Hopefully everybody's okay in this whole COVID situation, stuck inside. I figured make a video. I know it's been like 2 weeks now since the draft, but I kind of wanted to take a look at all these guys and see what we were really doing and how these guys were going to complement our team, and I really like what I'm seeing. So as we see, obviously Derek Carr's quarterback number one. Mariota is going to be a decent backup. Then we got Waller starting tight end, Jason Witten, who was another free agent addition, great signing, and Foster Moreau, really good tight end, trio there. And here we have Henry Ruggs, Tyrell Williams, and Bryan Edwards as our top three. Obviously, Hunter Renfrow is going to be in there as well. Hunter Renfrow's over here, sorry, yep. And Nelson Aguilar. Those are going to be our top receivers. I don't think we'll see much of Zay Jones, Marcel Aitman, or Keelan Doss this year. They'll be good on the practice squad, and if we need them, they can step up. But I don't think we're going to need them with the guys we got. We got a good depth at wide receiver now, which is, what we needed. It's what we needed. People might not be happy with the guys we got, but we got the positions we needed, which is something we couldn't say. I remember when we drafted Colton Miller, I was like, an offensive tackle? We don't need an offensive tackle. Now I don't mind the pick so much. I hope Colton Miller does play well this year, but we'll see how it goes. But anyway, so here's our starting defense as well. So we got Max Crosby, obviously, on the one edge, Maurice Hurst and Malik Collins as our two starting defensive tackles, and then Cleve Farrell on the other edge, with Carl Nassib, who's actually rated higher than Cleveland there as our top three. Probably Nassib and Farrell will definitely switch out here and there. Nassib might be your third down backer to start out the season. We'll see how that goes, and then Farrell will obviously get reps as well, rushing the quarterback, with Arden Key as a back. Maybe give Mad Max a few reps off, but I don't see Arden Key getting too much attention this year, getting too many reps. We'll see. I mean, he was honestly he got there. He would get to the quarterback, he just wouldn't be able to sack him. That's the thing about Key. If he can turn those almost hits, into sacks, then he might be going somewhere. So our starting linebackers, as I said, Kwiatkowski and Littleton, and on this side, I do like Morrow or even Markel Lee is our weak side linebacker. Morrow is probably the best choice, and like I said, Tanner Muse is kind of the, just watch. Tanner Muse might be your starting weak side linebacker week 1, and that's, you know, one of those things where it's like he can play that role. So it's depth, but it's also could be starter. Like I said, high upside. And obviously our starting 2 cornerbacks are Damon Arnette and Trayvon Mullen, with Randall and Abram as our starting safeties. So like I said, we definitely upgraded our team. Like, look at these numbers. Like, if we didn't pick up Kwiatkowski and Littleton, we would have been starting with like a, you know, 70 linebackers. Now we have somebody who's rated 82 and 76 respectively overall. So that's pretty, you know. And look at Collins. Now we have, you know, 2 defensive tackles, basically 80 overall, with Crosby and Farrell, who should be a little higher with Nassib there. You know, we got guys that are pretty good. We got a pretty good solid team, and I think that um, with Abram getting a full year this year, we're gonna see his explosiveness. We're gonna see his hunt, his hunger. I think it's gonna help us a lot. So Deandre Washington is now with the Kansas City Chiefs. So Rod Smith maybe there. He may get opportunities. I like him as a red zone running back, actually, if we do keep him. So I wouldn't mind it. As I said, I don't think Aitman, Gafford, Jones will get too many carries this year. Carrier might see his targets diminished as well in favor of Jason Witten. And I saw Denzel Good as a starting offensive lineman in one of them, you know, but no, we're going to have Rodney Hudson will be our center, Incognito, Gabe Jackson as our 2 guards, and Colton Miller, and obviously Trent Brown as our 2 starting tackles. So yeah, so that's going to be our team this year. Hopefully we do well. Hopefully these additions are going to help the team. I think that no matter what, they're solid building blocks for the future. And I think the Las Vegas Raiders, as crazy it is to say, you know, we're in Vegas now, and we're going to see how she goes. We got the draft in 2022. I know good old Goodell's kind of messed that up. He's like making an announcement. He's like, the Raiders will host the 2020 NFL draft. And we're like, yeah, we know we were supposed to host the 2020 NFL draft, idiot. But obviously we couldn't because of the whole COVID. So now we're going to host the 2022 NFL draft in Vegas. Maybe I'll be able to go. Hopefully. We'll see. We'll see. Anyway, thanks for watching the video, guys. If you made it this far, I appreciate it. And like, subscribe. Let me know what you think. I'm going to hopefully put out some more videos the next few days. Anyway, have a good one. Bye.